Welcome once again to Decentralized Nutrition in the themes of inaccessibility and economics. This is once again a self-vlog journaling update addressed in first-person formatting perspectives, accounting my experiences surrounding not the first but the second dosage of Novavax. The entire Monday, including the onset of administration, the injection, and all the way until the end of day, pretty much went smoothly, other than a sore arm, in which that is pretty much a minor concern. However, Tuesday was extremely unexpected. On precisely 3:35 a.m., I was presented and experiencing chilling headache and not to the point of fever, but slightly cold symptoms, but enough as such that it actually woke me up in very early morning hours at precisely 3:35 a.m., in which that actually compelled me to take half an aspirin before I recommence sleeping once again. But towards the early morning, the lingering headaches and the slight chilling somewhat still persist, but not as bad as it was during that very early morning. I nevertheless started taking ibuprofen in addition to also, once again, an additional round of aspirin throughout the day, entire working day, that is, as I would like to nevertheless be obliged to remain functional at work, obviously. The worst happened during evenings, as such that I felt once again, the returning of that slight cold, slight chilling symptoms, combined with the lingering lightheadedness, that I decided to nevertheless make an emergency purchase of various supplementations, both fat solubles and water solubles. Most notably to that as vitamin K2 Mark 7, CoQ10, although that is a rare novelty, but I would consider that as an exceptional requirement nevertheless during this time. But the most important of them all, zinc. And thankfully, within moments of me swallowing the zinc chelated, I felt almost immediate relief, to the point whereby I can comfortably proceed all my day-to-day routines throughout the rest of the evenings. So there is one definite thing that I can attest to personally under my own N=1 insight. This may or may not actually happen to you. However, as always, you must therefore exercise your own due diligence at self-journaling. All of your nutritional insights, psychology, and physiological insights amidst these experiences of the vaccine mandates. So what happens then for the rest of the week, starting from Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays? Long story short, there are some good news as well as there are bad news. Starting with the good news, as such that, yes, thankfully, there has been no recurring inflammatory cytokine release or that sudden chill-like symptoms that I was actually experiencing back on Tuesday. There is the cytokine inflammatory conditions such as severe facial flushing that was experiencing on that very early Tuesday morning at 3:35 a.m. So the good thing is none of that happened again, and that the muscular cramping and to the point whereby slight spasm around the upper regions, the upper backs as well as the upper pectorals have been somewhat lessened to a certain degree, to the point whereby it is almost negligible to any signs of worrisome concerns when it comes to muscular cramps. So anything to do with muscular cramps has been pretty much resolved or in check. However, now comes with the bad news, the lingering, unexplainable, and somewhat unexpected rise and emerging headaches or migraines as well as lightheadedness throughout the day. Now, this can be quite difficult for me to pinpoint as to the exact rationale, because this could be also legitimately being warranted as such that I may yet be trying to adjust to new situational awareness and or circumstances surrounding my workplace, even though that the many prior weeks of my probationary period, I thought that I was actually able to withstand the new working environments as well as the various working conditions. However, it just happens quite interestingly as such that following this second dosage, things appear to be heading towards that of more frequent feelings of tiredness and general malaises that is quite similar to mineral deficiency symptoms. Even though that, yes, I tried to up my potassium regimens and also brought my magnesium topical oils that I actually prepared myself earlier, in which that all that involved is just magnesium chloride flakes, whether food grade or not, and just boil them with some distilled water, let it bring up to the boil, stir it until it dissolves, and that's it, let cool, and store it. Yes, magnesium, topical magnesium there is, and or orally supplementation, magnesium chelated at the very least, does help with these symptoms of headaches and general malaises. However, not for long before it starts to emerge again, especially during the evenings. So, in other words, for as long as there is a consistent or constant flow of momentum amidst my workflow, that is the motivation amidst following from one job to another, then the how shall we say this, the severity and or the pain from these headaches or the lightheadedness does seem to fade away. However, it just happens that unfortunately during moments of rest, this is where, paradoxically, from which I cannot understand, the headaches and the lightheadedness and the general fatigue starts to creep up again, to the point whereby it was very unexpected for me to wake up this Saturday morning and all the way to the afternoons with, once again, general heavy feelings of encumbrance. Usually, I would feel none of this at all, especially after long, strenuous training sessions, day in, day out. I mean, we're talking about at least, just to quickly to put into perspective, my prior training episodes and experiences of having done up to 4 exercises per week, each consists of up to 10 or even up to 12 exercises with up to 250 plus repetitions of slow, consistent time under tension repetition rep ranges. And I have, in which I usually would be waking up, of course, with some degree of delayed onset muscle soreness, but not to the point whereby I feel very also heavy and encumbered in the head, such that the lingering pulsating headache seems to return itself again and again and again, which is very interesting and yet very concerning at the same time, in which it is I am still working as to whether or not this is temporary or if it is still a lingering, ongoing side effects that I have to contend with. We shall see, nevertheless. But perhaps the most significant change and update is that, yes, despite the general malaises, the headaches, and the lightheadedness that I've been experiencing throughout this week, including today, even as I'm actually speaking throughout this presentation, was that I was nevertheless able to resume, or at least attempted in at least 80 to 90% of the entire full training regimen, that is, following the usual standard German volume episodes, 5x5, 6x6, or even up to 8x8 volume training session. And no, if anyone is ever wondering whether or not I can immediately resume back to perform my full maintenance capacity, no, it was certainly not possible. But for those of you who wish to know more about the full training episodes that I've actually resumed in detail, please by all means visit my blog article, in which I've actually outlined and list all of the training component, the exercise, the range of motion, and the repetition range, all in detail. So before we close, there's this one earnest disclaimer and announcement that I would like to make earnestly in front of the camera. For those audiences who may quite possibly be acquaintances whom I have been liaised with, either at present or in the past, I must therefore would like to humbly apologize that I may not be able to be expected nor anticipated to ably produce these self-journaling vlog updates, at least within its first-person formatting perspective, to be in its regular frequency because of the following reasons, in which all of which can be, in which I can only summarize as such that I do not wish in any manner, shape, or form to compromise or jeopardize my entire employability probation period. This is, after all, my very rare opportunity. I need to remain cautious in that I wish to remain separated in my interests of and for this channel, away from those who are related to my full-time employment relations and or conditions. Just because someone is an accountant for the last 15 years, for instance, he or she would likely also have other passions, other diversified interests. However, in the realm and lens and context of employment and recruitment, employers, unfortunately, at least, I'm not sure if this actually applies everywhere else around in elsewhere, but at least in Australia, employers often look down. That is correct. Employers often stigmatize anyone who has diversified lateral interests, so to speak, beyond their supposed primary background. And once again, this topic can be quite sensitive because it may relate to many of you who are watching this who may lead double lives, so to speak. Double lives, meaning that they have multiple allegiances and multiple commitments, not just to make ends meet, but to pursue further meanings in their own livelihood, by which ways that employers may not seem to readily accept nor empathize. So once again, I sincerely apologize for that. Seems to be quite a long-winded disclosure, but suffice to say, I just do not wish to, and for anyone else for that matter who would likewise be in my shoes or in my situation as such, that I would never want to jeopardize nor compromise my employability at this stage, should and if in the event that I am being seen or that my presence within this concept initiative is seen by these powers that be, then once again, I have to make sure that I would like to nevertheless keep and maintain a low profile. And also another thing, that's why I'd like to keep a low profile for the days, weeks, and even perhaps months ahead, is that there is going to be some much more work as well as much more structural changes that I am obliged between families and also within my own property rights, as such that I am soon likely be in the view to relocate to another property, in which, once again, this constitutes a lot of work and certainly a lot of discussion and something to think about deeply on a financial level, psychosocial level, and personal level. So, having said that, I wish to nevertheless hope that you accept and empathize with these changing circumstances. So, signing out, my name is Andrew, and I thank you once again for keeping in touch with me throughout this process. I will once again strive my best to provide a written update for the next 7 days to see if my circumstances improve in terms of my side effects that I've been having to contend with throughout all these weeks. I sincerely wish you all my well wishes and kindest regards, and that I still nevertheless welcome any or all comments. for as long, of course, that they are not inflammatory, and those who are frownful, simpleton remarks as to simply question me as to why. Why are you doing this? Why can you just say no? If it is that easy, if it were that easy to just say no, it's just a matter of time until your own country, your own government, or just wait, even your own family, they may have their own collective of an opinion that may or may not work in your favor. I am not here to fearmonger. I am only here to remind you of the circumstances that may or may not, hopefully it may not actually happen, to coerce or to erode your social movements, rights, access to employability, access to mortgage rights, even, to name a few, being coerced or being taken away from you bit by bit. So, once again, signing up. Learn for yourself, keep for yourself, and of all things, keep living it forward. Thank you for watching.